I'm a longtime Android user currently on the Apple iPhone XS, and here's what I find really annoying about the phone. Let's start with what comes out of the box. First things first, the Apple iPhone XS is probably the most expensive phone you're gonna buy at $999, which translates to around 3,670 dirhams. But here in the local market, the same phone sells for 4,229 dirhams starting, which is significantly more than the $999 threshold in the United States. But for all that money, you're getting very little out of the box. This year, there's no Lightning to 3.5mm headphone jack adapter. That obviously gave you a bit more convenience when using other iPhones in the past, because none of them have had a headphone jack, but also there's no fast charging cable or adapter out of the box, which means recharging the phone can take up to 3 hours, which might not seem a lot if you're charging your phone overnight, but trust me, when you've got things like Quick Charge 3.0 or dash charging on the Android front, having your phone go from 0% to 60% in 30 minutes is way more convenient than charging your phone overnight. And when you look at the most premium phone that Apple offers, and for it to be conventionally charged by a 5-watt brick that comes out of the box, this is very disappointing. Even the cheapest Android phones come with some sort of fast charging option, and for Apple to expect you to pay extra to get the fast charging brick and cable, it's just crazy. Now this next one might be a bit subjective, but having used Android over the years, I've grown used to the LED notification light that comes on many flagships and many budget phones as well on an Android device. For Apple to not adopt this sort of technology even now is very surprising. The notification light serves as a great way to let you know if there's a message on your phone or if there's a notification, but Apple just doesn't get the memo. And for the record, if you're using the flashlight that doubles as a notification light on an iPhone, I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about an LED notification light on the front that actually serves a purpose and not just a flashy light that, flashes when you get a notification. No, that's not what I want. Next up, there's software. We know that iOS 12 is a very fluid operating system and it offers considerable more than when it did in previous years, but it's still not very much functional. And comparing that to Android, for example, you can't do much. You can't change the theme of your iPhone if you want to. You can't change the icons or how apps look on your iPhone, whereas on Android, you can have the flexibility to do anything you want. You can change the launcher, you can change app icons, etc., etc. And that just brings flexibility to the experience. And what's more is that Android gives you more value for software. So you can have things like split screen functionality, picture-in-picture, which is all added convenience that the Apple iPhone just doesn't bring. And if you're gonna use the argument of the Apple iPhone XS being too small, it's got a 5.8-inch screen, which is more than enough for split screen functionality. And I think Apple should have got this in, and if not, maybe in a future update. But I'm very skeptical. Speaking of space on screen, let's actually talk about storage space on the iPhone XS, which is at default 64 gigabytes. Now, in this day and age, 64 gigabytes is not enough at all. You're going to be taking pictures, you're going to be recording videos at 4K, movies, games, etc. You want to go for a higher spec iPhone XS, 256 gigabytes or 512 gigabytes. But the problem with it is that Apple marks up storage so much that you kind of don't want to go for the higher spec version of the iPhone. On Android though, you do get microSD expansion, which is really convenient. So the same 256 gigabytes on any Android phone would come at half the price of what Apple charges on their website for the 256 gigabyte variant of the iPhone, which is saying a lot. I think there's just more flexibility when it comes to Androids and microSD cards because you can change them around. You can change them based on your trips. For example, if you're going on a long trip, you might want to change to the microSD card that has your music stored. And that sort of function is just not present on the iPhone XS. And I know many Android phones also don't come with microSD cards anymore, but I'm talking about the Samsungs, the HTCs that do provide this functionality. And last but not least is dual SIM support on the iPhone XS. This is a first for any iPhone, but there's a catch. There's one hardware SIM and the other one is an electronic SIM. And whether this might be huge in America or not, I don't know, but especially in Dubai and other markets, this is still a developing trend. I'm sure that carriers in general will charge more on a monthly basis to provide this sort of functionality, but the obvious solution to this for Apple would have been just to provide 2 hardware SIM slots like you get in many international devices out there, especially the Android ones. But Apple didn't do that. But at the same time, Apple did do that because the Chinese variants of the iPhones do get 2 hardware SIM slots. And I'm not sure why Apple just didn't make that version of the phone international for everyone, including America, to have it, which is just very, very odd. And I wish Apple just made everything more convenient instead of going this route. But I think that about wraps up my thoughts on the iPhone XS so far and some of the things that I'm annoyed with this phone. Of course, I'm not anti-Apple and there are things that I like about this phone. I'm gonna make a video on that coming very shortly, but I thought I'd address this first and then go on to the good bits and of course the review at the end of the process. But that's all for this one. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like rating down below and subscribe to the channel to check out more videos I make in the coming future. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.